and welcome back to the Free Speed Podcast, your go-to podcast for navigating fitness and life with purpose. We're your host, Natasha Bozick.
And I'm Calvin Fogler.
And today it is Thursday, April 3rd. And I feel like it's been a while since we recorded an episode. It hasn't been that long. But I feel like, I don't know about you, but I just needed like a little reset to just like reevaluate everything. Sometimes like when your passion turns into like a stressful thing, you just like kind of lose the passion for it. Do you get what I mean?
Yes, I haven't been feeling that way so much with the podcast, but I think for me training has been a lot like that recently. And ever since, so I've talked about this last couple episodes, but ever since the High Rocks at 1st of March, and about a week later, I did this like long run during the cyclone, and I pushed through a lot of pain, and I shouldn't have. My body has just felt like training has never been the same since, and so I'm just trying to figure out like what my body needs. And I think this is like a tricky point where a lot of people get to, and I think you're at this point too, where you're just confused. You're like, do I need more iron? Do I need more vitamins? And like it'd be nice to have all the blood work done and have all the testing done and all that. But I think a lot of people live in this place where they're kind of unsure of how they're feeling, because you're like, is it hormones? Is it supplements? Is it sleep? Is it just stress? It can be all those things.
Yeah, so many things. And yeah, anyways, I think I just put a lot of pressure on myself with the podcast because I'm the one who's mostly editing and posting and creating the clips. So it's just like a lot of pressure that I put on myself because I want it to do well and I want to be creating more content. But then it's like you also just need to also be creative, and it's so hard to like put all your energy into that when you have to work on top of that, and then you need to work out and you need to focus on your marathon training and just like so many things that keep adding on to your plate, and then like health issues, not feeling good, blah blah blah. So then yeah, it's kind of just been a rough couple weeks, but right before this I kind of had a mental breakdown.
Well, I think it's important for anyone listening. You can apply this to your own life, and I think everybody realizes this at one point or another. You're like, I'm going to get some work done on something that I care about, whatever it may be, and then you're trying to like allocate time. You're like, oh, I have all this time in my day. I say I coach in the morning, or I'm doing something in the morning, and then I have like 8 hours in the afternoon, and like on one hand, sure, you do have 8 hours. But on the other hand, like just working out and just eating alone can disrupt your flow of just getting work done. And I think that's like what is so frustrating, or struggling. What is the right word? God, I got baby brain. Like, Jesus. But anyway, that's what makes people struggle so much is
Sorry.
I feel like when I talk, you don't listen to me.
No,
You just think.
It's just funny because before this, we sat down to record it, and I started crying because I was so stressed. And then I was like, I'm going for a walk. I put in my headphones, went for a walk, came back, felt a lot better. I think I just needed some fresh air because I realized I hadn't even been outside today, and it's like almost noon. And then we sat down, and I was like, I'm going to do some breath meditation. So I did 10 minutes of box breathing, and I'm holding Calvin's hand thinking he's doing it with me, and then I feel flinch, and that's like a giveaway sign that you fell asleep.
Well, and this happens,
and it's just
often.
So funny, like when you just fall asleep and take a little nap, then you come back and your brain is not functioning.
And this is like, I think a lot of people who are just in relationships or whatever deal with this, and I think that's like one of the things is like sometimes like whatever is best for your schedule isn't best for the other person's schedule. And I think this is just like good advice, is like you needed a sec to like just just take some time to just clear your mind this morning.
Yeah.
And like I just like started to kill time. I didn't put any pressure on that. And like even though it would have been nice to like have done the podcast an hour ago for me, it wasn't right for you. And so it just like it's like the give and takes of a relationship that. And then next thing you know, Tash is like, let's do breathing. And I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. And I knew I was going to pass out because I got like 4 hours of sleep last night, which is just foolish of me. But that's just part of kind of what life has been. It's been busy.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to say is you have these big blocks of time. You think you have like all this time to just focus. But like most people these days have some level of ADHD or whatever you want to call it, and it's hard to maintain and keep your attention because all these things like social media are literally designed and built to make your brain become distracted and like get trapped into these algorithms. And that's like what AI is going to do moving forward. I think is just it gives us access to all these things so instantly. And I think I've seen a lot of people recently talking about how that's why the power of a notepad and just keeping a notepad on you is so valuable to just whatever you're thinking about in terms of a productive way, eliminating all the technology and just like turning it off, putting on do not disturb, and just going tunnel vision on whatever you're focused on.
Yeah.
And it allows you to just keep your mind so much more clear. And so I'm definitely going to try and be better at that because even last night, great example where like I knew I needed to relax and reset, but then you can kind of just get lost.
Yeah, in the doom scroll. Yeah. And it's funny because I used to be the biggest, not hater, but I was like, why do people journal? Like, that's so weird. And in my head, I was like, writing down your feelings every day, like, why? Like, why is that beneficial? But, like, the more and more I think about it, I feel like I just need to start doing it and see how I feel because I agree with you. Like, having everything online on your laptop, on your phone, it's just, like, such a distraction to the point where even if you, like, write some things down on your notes app on your phone, it's, like, it's not the same feeling as pen to paper writing something down in a notebook. And there you are on your phone again.
No, well, no, because no, this is funny. Is so Tash doesn't even know. Like she should have known that this is what I was bringing up.
No, I know you have notes. It's just funny.
No, it's not a note.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So she thought she knew, she didn't know. So what I'm looking at right now is I recently showed Tash this, which was ironically enough something I found on social media, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. Is like how there's so many benefits, but also so many things that like downside that just unfortunately weigh on like kind of negatively affecting your life. And so this was basically data based on where people spend their time over a 50-year period. So it was showing how people spend their time from like 1970 to like 2020. And I stopped it when like right as close to when I was born. So in 2002, it said that 27% of people's or 27% of your time is spent with friends, 15% spent with coworkers, 13% spent with at a restaurant or at a bar, 11% with your family, 8% college, 8% school, 6.5% neighbors, and 6% online. So in 2002, 6% of people's time were spent online. And now fast forward to 2024, 61% of people's time is spent online. 13.8% is spent with friends, 9% spent with coworkers, and then everything else, bar, restaurant, family, school, church, neighbors, college, all under 5%. So a dramatic shift in spending 27% with friends in 2002 to only 13% in 2024, and then online going from 6% in 2002 up to 60% which is remarkable. I think just like looking at that data and understanding how that has dramatically affected how disconnected we really are, even though we are more connected with maybe your high school friends because you see their posts still. You might think you feel like you're still kind of in touch, but in reality, we have a lot less connection in person. And I think that's why a lot of people feel this different sense of loneliness. And I was wondering what you think about like all this data and just how things have shifted from even when we were growing up. Do you remember just going out and playing on the playground, and like sometimes you're like, man, things were so simple. People didn't overthink little things.
Well, the funny thing is, so I was at work yesterday. I just work in hospitality at this like fine dining steakhouse, and I was at work yesterday, and there was this like family of 6, so it was like 4 adults and 2 kids, and the parents set both of their kids up with over-the-ear headphones and these huge iPads, and they were just in the restaurant like scrolling, watching videos for hours.
2 of the 6.
The 2 kids, yeah, while the adults were just
there's 4 adults.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And in my head I was like, wow, that is sad. But at the same time, I can't relate because I don't have kids, and I'm sure it's so hard to like keep kids under control when you're in a public setting and at a restaurant. Like I understand that, but the fact that it's come to that point where parents resort to just giving their kids iPads in a public setting to keep them under control, like I feel like I would never do that, and I'm making a promise to myself right now that I would never do that. Because I was not raised that way, and I will never want to raise my kids that way.
It's interesting because that is, like, I do agree with you on the sense that, like, I don't think it's good for them. On the other hand, do you remember those teachers back when you were in primary school, and you're like, these teachers are so strict because, like, they're kind of like these old thinking, like, the reason that they teach this way is because they were taught this way, and that they're trying to get back at the world by like proving a point. And I think that's one thing to be careful of, is not just trying to prove a point to your kids, but also doing what you kind of have decided and evaluated is what's going to actually help them. But I do think in just terms of the argument for the constant stimulation is, of course, like you just said, granted, you can't speak for that because you haven't lived it yet. You haven't felt like a kid that's constantly nagging you because maybe they're friends or even they just are bored. And I personally know growing up, I felt a lot of frustration and like internal anger because I was so bored all the time. And when you're young, like, you can't just do what you want. You're restricted by what your parents basically allow you to do. And it's interesting because I do think when you have the access to constant stimulation, it deprives you of the ability to use your imagination. It deprives you of your ability to be creative.
But that's what I mean is, like, how hard is it to give your kids a coloring book?
Yeah.
And do like a paint the numbers thing while you're at dinner? Like, I would so much rather do that for my future kids than just to give them an iPad.
That's crazy.
Scroll on. Coloring is so fun. Man, people forget about that.
And like that's what restaurants used to have, was like literal kids menus with like, and it's crazy. You're right. If I ever had a restaurant, I would want that sort of old school. And I think there's got to be places I feel like that's so American. Like, there's got to be places in Texas, they still hand out coloring books. There's no fucking way.
No, they do that in Canada all the time. The menu.
Really?
Even the where I used to work. Yeah, kids menus with
they
some crayons.
Yeah,
with like a word search.
But you're right. Kids nowadays, like, they'd probably be like, Mom, give me the fucking iPad.
Yeah, but anyways, my point is that, like, I understand why some parents would feel the need to do that, because like they would want to also relax at dinner, and then like their kids nagging them would be just such a headache, and I get it. But at the same time, if you raise your kids that way, to just always resort to just giving them a screen to look at, to just fill them with this instant dopamine and distraction, I feel like if you didn't raise them that way, they wouldn't know any different. The only reason why that they are addicted to it is because it was given to them. If you wouldn't have given it to them, they wouldn't know it would exist. Until they get to school, and then they realize, oh, every other kid is doing this, blah, 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 blah.
But
in the first few years of growing up, like Calvin, keep in mind these kids were young, like maybe 2 years old.
No, I 100% agree.
2 or 3 years old. It's the difference between like 8 and like 2 or 3 years old.
And I think the only reason it just turns up a lot of questions is, will depriving them of like that sort of technology make them almost like slightly disconnected from their peers because they haven't experienced what every other kid is experiencing because every parent does this? I think that's one of the unknowns that you just never know.
Yeah.
But I do agree in the old school just experience is so valuable. And yeah, like I think one of the best moments is like just going in like daycare type of style where you're just running around with like a bunch of other kids being kids. And I love I love the saying like kids will be kids, and like whatever, they'll make mistakes, and that's life. They'll live, they'll learn, and that'll teach them more than anything.
And I feel like social media and how everything is online, I think it's such a powerful tool, and we have access to all these resources that we never would have had years and years ago. And to an extent, like, it is a great thing, but there comes a point where it's like you got to be careful, because if that's all you're prioritizing and you're caught doom scrolling for hours and hours and hours, and that's the dopamine that you're feeling is from scrolling on social media, and then you keep scrolling and you're like, oh, that's not enough, then you turn your phone off and you're like, well, that wasn't what I was looking for. My TikTok feed was not what I was expecting. Like, I didn't find what I wanted from that. And then how many hours do you spend a week doing that?
Yeah, 100%. And I think,
and you could have been reading, you could have been like hanging out with your friends, you could have been learning a new hobby, learning to play an instrument.
I've been in this weird, interesting situation too, where like I kind of teeter between the two. Is on one hand, you're right, I always leave scrolling on social media feeling like I've wasted time. I do feel that way, and I'm not sure if that's like, I know a lot of people feel that way because a lot of people just will spend tons of time on social media, just scrolling whatever it is, and it feels like a waste. But on the other hand, I do think the reason you're on it is because you feel like you're stimulating and learning different things.
And I think it's different for you because your social media is a lot of fitness and like endurance focus, where you're trying to learn something, versus someone who's not so into working out. It's literally just brain rot and like memes.
Yeah, and
maybe
that's
so completely
and I think
different.
that maybe the only other way, no, because even though I'm getting like maybe beneficial stuff, I think what's interesting is when you put down your phone at night and you wake up the next day, how much of what you just did of consuming social media can you remember? None. And that's the concerning part that I want anyone listening to think about, is when you look back a week, tell me one of the posts that you saw last Tuesday. Like, tell me one of the posts that you saw last Tuesday on your Reels or TikTok.
This is funny because Calvin is a hater of me watching movies and TV. He's always like, oh, why do you want to watch a TV show? Why do you want to watch a movie? But that is the reason why. It's because film and TV is an art to me, and it's actually super interesting for me because I really want to get into kind of that side of like production and creativity and stuff, is just learning more about film. And to me that's like that's memorable. So interesting, and you can remember a movie or a TV show so easily versus just scrolling on social media, wasting hours on TikTok or reels or shorts or whatever. Who uses shorts? Please tell me. I have no idea. Like who actually uses shorts?
I think it's, for some reason I think that the people who have Samsungs and people who watch YouTube shorts are always the people like my brother. No, I know for a fact.
Let me say this before I forget. I know who uses shorts. It's the people like my mom who have the YouTube app on their TV, and they go on YouTube to watch a video of like the news or something. And then for some reason it will start like bringing up things that they would be interested in, and then they'll just like click on it with their TV remote, and it will be like a YouTube short of some sort, and then they'll click on the next one. And it's like that age of like 40 to 50-year-olds who are just like on their TV, on the YouTube app on their TV. That's who uses shorts. I don't think anyone else uses shorts.
Yeah, no, it's mind-boggling. Yeah. You know what when you were just finishing that conversation, you know what I was just thinking about is this recent podcast that we just listened to. And can we touch on this real quick?
Which one was it?
The one that we just listened to yesterday.
Yeah, I forget.
The one about, I forget. The one about effective communication.
Okay, so we listened to a podcast, which I've never heard of before. It's called Diary of a CEO, and the host is this guy named Stephen Bartlett. And we listened to this episode because she recommended it, and it's called The Speaking Coach. The one word all liars use. Stop saying this word. It's making you sound weak. The more you do this, the more you sound like a liar. So that was just like the name of the podcast. But it was so interesting because he had this guy named Jefferson Fisher on the podcast, and he basically is a trial lawyer and a communication expert. So he basically just like teaches how to communicate with confidence, and he also wrote a book called The Next Conversation: Argue Less, Talk More. And he provided so many tools that you would never think about using when you're speaking to someone, when someone's being rude or disrespectful to you. Just things that are so simple but make you look like you are smart and knowledgeable and mature, and you just know what you're doing.
And I think it also is so connected to like your own morals, and not saying sorry for when you don't like
when you're not
sorry. Yeah. And like just like staying true to your character and building confidence in communication and being just a better communicator. And he told a story about these two sisters that were arguing in court, and basically one sister had said like you're dead to me, like I've never fucking loved you. And the other sister took a 5-second pause and said, "Can you say that again to me?" And just the effect of being able to not like say something emotional back, and to just gather your emotions and take a deep breath, and then make the other person say back what they said to you. And the other sister wasn't willing to say it. She wasn't willing to say the hurtful words that she had already said.
Yeah.
And because she realized she had to reflect and think about what she had said, rather than this emotional argument that just continued to escalate, especially in a courtroom, which is...
Yeah. And if you guys are ever in the situation where you're having a conversation with someone and it doesn't play out the way you thought in your head, and afterwards you're thinking, oh, I should have said that. Like, why didn't I say that? This podcast kind of just makes you think of everything you could say, and make you think that way before you have conversations with anyone. So that way you are more prepared answer in a mature and non-emotional way. So if you're ever looking to listen to a podcast, we would highly recommend that one. It's actually like, it probably is life-changing, and
yeah,
it was so cool.
There's so many things in that episode that like I need to now take a pen to some paper and like list down to actually implement them, because there was stuff about how to be a better email texter and just implementing all
how
these principles.
How to say no to people, and he basically was saying like, just be straight up and don't say, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't, like blah blah blah, like,
yeah, there was an order. He said say I can't, and then never lie. Yeah. He said basically say I can't, and then end with a gratitude. Yeah. And basically appreciate the person for then reaching out to you. Yeah. And so there's this whole formula and whole system and all these great tips and tricks that he gives people to then implement in their lives. And what I think Jefferson did so well was anytime Stephen had a question about like an actual application or real world example, he was very good at making it super clear and understandable. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what some people struggle with so much, is like he actually gave an example of every single thing that he talked about. Yeah, so that podcast was really cool to listen to, and that kind of just ties into what we were talking about in social media earlier, is that like I'd much rather like listen to that and learn about that and spend 2 hours listening or watching a podcast like that than just scrolling on TikTok, because you're actually learning something that can be applicable in the real world. And I just feel like there needs to be more of that out there. And obviously you need a balance. Like even for me, I enjoy watching movies, I enjoy listening to podcasts, and I enjoy learning from podcasts. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts like the Huberman Lab and Mel Robbins show, just like learning more. But then there has to be a balance too, where I kind of just enjoy listening to podcasts that are all fun and just like comedy as well, or gossip or something, like just social media.
There's
like,
a good balance. Yeah, it's
funny. I'm a big nonfiction type of person, so I love listening to like just like the science stuff, and because where I work, I can like listen to music, and so I just listen to podcasts all day. Some days I'll literally have listened to like 6 hours of podcasts. So if anyone's listening right now and you have great podcasts, please send them and DM them to me. I'd appreciate that a lot. But Tash will come and pick me up, and I'll be like, Tash, like my brain is cooked from just like learning. It's like I went back. It's like back in high school. Yeah. I felt like I just left like a 6-hour intense session of high school, and I'm just like, all right, let's not stimulate my brain with so much information. And I think information can just be overloaded at some point. But.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I guess that's kind of what's been going on recently. What else is new with you?
I've just been trying to find myself through just not prioritizing working out to the extent that I was before, because I do think like it's easy to get overwhelmed with something that like maybe necessarily isn't bringing you so much fulfillment. And as much as like I do love to train for these races and goals, whether I go 5 minutes or 10 minutes faster, like it's not gonna change my life, right? It might earn me a little bit more respect. And I do have goals that are fitness related, and I want to train towards them. But in terms of like dedicating and sacrificing weeks and months and stuff to it, I think recently I've had this realization that I want to spend more time being a better coach and developing more of my online stuff, my online coaching business that I'm in the works of right now, to then help more people. And I love to see people like excited about reaching a goal or like signing up for races and training consistently. And just like every person in your life, I find like you learn stuff from, And so for me to be able to help someone and someone else to be able to like teach me about something about their lives, that is like, every person has different obstacles and hurdles that they have to maneuver, right? I have a bad back. I have like things that I'm prone to. I have like schedules in my life that I have to work around. So does everyone else.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you relate to that at all?
Yeah.
That like focusing more on just like,
yeah, I went
things?
through, I think we kind of talked about this maybe already, but I went through that whole High Rocks prep. I was probably overtraining. Probably. It's hard for me to tell if I'm overtraining or not because I'm always chronically tired and fatigued. If you guys don't know, I have anemia and I don't take iron pills because I've had really bad stomach issues when taking the pills. So I just decided I'm not going to take the pills. However, yesterday I was doing some research because I was like, I'm sick of feeling like poopy diaper all the time. Sorry, I need to stop saying that word. Sorry. Why do I say that all the time?
It's funny. Tash and I will, yeah.
You say it.
I only say it to you because it's a joke, but it's funny because you just will, like, your unconscious mind is like so funny. That's how I
feel, like a poopy diaper.
Okay.
Okay, so I need to stop saying that, actually.
Yeah.
I might cut this out. What was I saying?
You're just saying that
I'm tired of feeling so tired all the time. And no matter how much sleep I get, I wake up in the first couple hours of the day, I feel great. And then it's an immediate crash. And it could have to do with, caffeine and drinking coffee first thing in the morning. And I've been trying to be better at that. I wake up now the last week or so and I've been having water and a peppermint tea before the coffee, and I've been having breakfast and then I'm having coffee after that. So I've been playing around with that, but I honestly don't think it's helping because I don't feel great. But anyways, back to my point. I was doing some research yesterday and there's so many different types of iron. And the one that my doctor had prescribed to me, I looked it up and I was like asking ChatGPT to like kind of just simply tell me like what the difference between that one was and like everything else that's on the market. And it's like the most intense form of iron there is. And I was like, no wonder that hurt my stomach so bad because I have stomach sensitivities already to just like dairy, garlic, onion, like just simple things. So basically this one pill, it's called ferrous fumarate or something like that, this type of iron, it's like 300 milligrams of iron per pill. And everything else that's kind of on the market right now that you can get like at a drugstore that's not prescription is, I'm pretty sure, like
50.
Like, yeah, like something like not even close to that. So basically what I found out was that I should probably take a different type of iron that might be not absorbed as easily but less intense, and take more pills. So I think I'm going to go to the pharmacy today and try to find an iron supplement that is like more easy on the stomach, but I'll have to take 4 pills a day instead of 1, which I'm willing to do. But yeah, it's just a tough thing because you want to feel better, but then if these pills that you have to take are making your stomach like hurt and you can't go to the bathroom and just like you're bloated, and it's hard to find that sweet spot. So that's why I haven't been taking iron like the last few years. But that could be why I've not been feeling like I have energy. That's probably why.
Yeah, it's interesting. So one of the things that I think I miss so much about rowing, and I wish you got to experience this at some point in your life, because I feel like it is something that I'm really missing at this point right now, is a group of people that are training for the same thing as me, that have the same schedule as me. And I think a lot of people don't realize that that might be the biggest thing that's holding them back. Is personally, I love to be with people, and that's the most important thing, is like just being able to train with people and show up and have a relationship, whether it's just like shooting the shit or like just talking about the training session that day and then going home. And I know right now, because like I work in the mornings and most of my training is in the evenings, and a lot of people in the Gold Coast always are training in this like 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. window, that it's really difficult to find training partners. And what I think is so important to getting consistent training and to enjoy training is having training partners that are willing to do the same programming as you at the same time consistently. And if you don't have that, it's a lot easier to find yourself not training as hard, not doing the things, not getting into the routines, and not enjoying it. And that's where I'm at right now, is like I'm just missing showing up to a location that some like a friend and I have agreed on at like 6:00 to do a run. And it's like that holds me accountable. And it's so easy to just like be, if it's just yourself and just holding yourself accountable, it's easy to just not treat yourself with the same amount of respect as you treat others.
That's why my friend a few weeks ago told me about this run club that was going on in the Gold Coast. And it's every Thursday at 5 p.m. It's a 5K run. And then we go and get fishbowl after for like pretty cheap. It's like a deal on fishbowl. And if you guys don't know what fishbowl is, it is like healthy build your own bowls kind of thing, or you can get a pre-made bowl.
Yeah, but it's salmon,
it's so good.
It's salmon, chicken, beef, build your own bowl.
Yeah, and it's just like healthy fast food. That's kind of what they market it as. Is like it's just like rice and salad and meat and vegetables, and it's really yummy. But anyways, my point is that we've been going to this run club for the past 3 weeks now, and we're enjoying it so much because it is a group of people showing up every week, running together.
I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it's a workout.
Yeah, it's not a workout. It's just like a social thing, and you enjoy your time so much more. And I've really been liking it as well. And I think we're gonna keep doing it because the people that go to that run club are just your average person too, and they're not just like the influencers that you see at the gym, which makes me feel a lot better about myself, because there comes a point where if you're surrounded by all of these people all the time that, you know, have a really big following or are training for these intense goals, it can be inspiring to an extent. But this is just how I feel, is that I'm becoming annoyed with myself because I am developing these insecurities that I didn't used to have. And I don't know what it is. It's just been the last month or so. I've been feeling really down about like my body image and stuff. And I feel like it's a normal thing that a lot of people don't talk about. And I don't know if this happens to you. Maybe it's more with women, but I feel like it's time to either make a change or do something that will help me not compare myself to them. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think a lot of people, like what you're saying is like you're looking to maybe change your environment, change something in your routine.
It's just the gym that we go to it's great. It has everything we need.
It's a cycle.
And it's these people that sometimes I don't want to be surrounded with.
Yeah.
Because it's just too intense for me and what I want to do.
Yes, 100%.
And the difference I feel between going to the gym Calvin coaches at versus the gym that we go to, it's 10 times better. I feel like I can be myself and I have a good workout, and there's less judgment and less pressure, and it just makes me feel so much better. So I think I just need to figure out what I want to change in my life right now, but I do know that I need a change. And it's so funny because I go through these phases every few months where I suddenly need a change in my life. And we kind of wanted to touch on this in this episode as well, as like, when do you know that you need to make a change in your life? And I feel like for me, it's when I start feeling overwhelmed. It's when I start having body image issues. It's when I'm not happy with what I'm doing. It's when I'm stressed, when like I just need something new in my life. And this run club is really helping with that. I am enjoying that more. But I've realized that I miss going to a commercial gym and just putting my AirPods in and not talking to anyone and getting my work done, because these gyms that are all over the Gold Coast, they're very social focused, and you go in and the music is blaring and no one's wearing AirPods and everyone's talking to each other like during their workouts kind of thing. And like, it is nice to have that, but sometimes you just want to put your AirPods in and not talk to anyone and get your work done.
Yeah, I think
without anyone thinking that like you're in a bad mood.
I think to touch on the two things, I think a lot of what we've been experiencing recently is like going into the gym recently has felt like you're almost like connected in a way where everybody's judging each other or like evaluating each other based on like kind of what they're doing that day, what they've been posting on social media, what their life and how their life's been going from the outside and whatever not. And some days you just want to not feel like you're like immersed in this echo chamber that feels like it's like there's like these like an echo chamber, and you just want to lock in and not pay attention, and you just focus on what you're doing. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. One of the interesting things that I've realized in terms of how I often decide I'm ready for a change is I ask myself, am I doing everything I'm capable of to make an opportunity worth it? And if the first answer is like no, I could do more, like there's things I could do differently, I usually think, well, then I'm not gonna let myself like run away. I'm not gonna let myself run away because things aren't going the way I want them to, because they're not just like falling into place. It's going to take more work. The second thing is I always look into the future at a point in which the change will make sense in my life. And I always use my experience to change my future. And so what I mean by that is, if the environment you're in right now is making you feel a certain way, then decide a point, whether it's maybe a couple months or whatever, and make it around a reason, like you're going to move cities, or you're going to make a change in your life, you're going to move to the other end of the city, whatever it is, that gives you kind of this justified reason to make a change and start going to a new gym or start doing some different habit. And then when you choose something different, it can't be the same environment that you just left. And so there's things that I've learned from just the gym that I'm working at that, like, I know there's some things that I like and there's some things I don't like. And moving forward, I'm going to let that dictate what opportunities and what things I'm willing to do. Yeah. Because I know what I want for me going forward. But it's also allowed me to grow. And so I think you have to look at even the things that aren't going the way you want them as like these important lessons.
It's an opportunity to learn more about yourself. And I feel like I also learned that the hard way. I had an opportunity kind of come and go, and I felt just a little disrespected with the way that it was dealt with. And that's also a big reason why I feel like I need a change, is because I no longer feel the same at the gym. I don't feel the same as I used to, just because of everything that kind of happened, and it made me feel a certain way. And I realized, you know what? It's not for me anymore, and I don't want to surround myself with people who don't respect me. So I think that's what I'm going to do moving forward, is just find people to surround myself with who do respect me and have similar goals and align with my values. And yeah, and I hope that's going to help with how I'm feeling, because your girl has been stressed the last few months.
And I think most people, and that's really what I'm trying to drive home, is like, you can endure stress, you can endure it for a good period of time so that you can maintain your character. Your character is all you have. If you just leave and quit when things get tough, people will always know you as someone who just quit when things got tough. And that's really important. Oh my God, that's annoying. Excuse me. And if you just quit when things get tough, that will always be kind of connected to you. However, if you kind of build up this thing where it's like, no, I'm going to make it to this point a couple months or a month or a few weeks away, and I'm also going to communicate why I'm making this change, and this is going to be a calculated decision, not an emotional decision, then it's a very mature way to move on and make changes in your life.
Yeah.
And if people don't respect that, then ultimately they probably don't respect you.
Yeah.
And a whole thing with respect that I noticed recently is not everybody has an instant respect for somebody. You have to earn it. But some people have done things in their lives through experience or fame or whatever that instantly allows them to get a lot more respect. And so
it wasn't earned. Yeah.
And two people in the same environment can have very different experiences simply based on some sort of respect that one of the person has just received, based on a life that other people want to live, an ability or like a physical capability, a level of achievement that someone aspires to have. If someone looks at you and doesn't think they can learn from you, doesn't think that you're a better athlete than them, doesn't think that like you're going to add any value, we live in this transactional world, unfortunately, where they're likely going to make you feel like that. And I think that's important to know, is you might just be in the wrong environment.
Yeah.
And it's a tough pill to swallow, because there are people that do make you feel that way.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the whole goal with moving to Australia was to put ourselves in these situations and environments to meet these people and, you know, learn from these people, see what it was like to be surrounded by people like this. And at the end of the day, it's been a few months now, like 6 months almost. Mm-hmm. I've learned what I needed to learn. I've met who I've wanted to meet. I've made connections with amazing people. And unfortunately, some of those people don't make me feel amazing. And you kind of just need to learn when to take a step back and kind of just reevaluate what you need in your life. And I guess that's kind of where we're going with this, is if you feel like you need to make a change in your life, just make the change. Whether that's, you know, going to the new gym, like befriending someone who's not adding value in your life anymore. There's so many other things.
Yes. I think using your boundaries and the things, I think we've talked a lot about, like, just like even negativity in your life. I've thought about how I could implement this in a way, but like when I think of like some of the most positive people in my life and just how important and impactful they have been, like if I could have a group of like 5 people, the most positive 5 people that I've ever been friends with, every morning, just like just catch up for 5-10 minutes, 10 minutes of just like having a good time. What a cool like small group experience that would be if everyone, and this is what I mean about like this training partners, is there is this ideal world, and if you can try and find people, like just write down if there's somebody that every time you see them they make your day better, write them down. And why not create like a thing with them where you're like, you just realize and you appreciate each other for how, for some reason, on an emotional like simple vibes, you guys just make each other better.
Yeah, and also if you feel like you know who these people are and you know what value they add to your life, tell them that. Like, I feel like we live in this world where people are afraid to like tell people like, hey man, like you make me happy, thank you. Like, when's the last time anyone has told you that?
Yeah. No
like
kidding.
No one does that anymore.
No kidding.
And I feel like simple things like that really make a big difference. And the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on was when you find yourself being negative, it is normal to not feel happy all the time. I feel like people forget that life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. But you know what's crazy is that people love to bond over negativity and complaining. And to an extent, I understand why people do it. It's to seek validation. It's to make them feel like their feelings are heard. And I get it. Like, life is rough. Things happen. But when you think about how often you do it, even without thinking, people are so much more negative than you realize. And it's the first thing we resort to is complaining. It's venting about what happened at work to your partner. It's, oh, someone made me feel this way, blah, blah, blah. When's the last time you had an actual nice conversation when you got home from work that wasn't about something negative that happened? Like, just think to yourself about that. And think to yourself, how do you want to be remembered? Do you want people to associate you with being the person who is negative and complaining and causing these dramas all the time? Or do you want to be associated with someone who makes people happy and inspires them and is always in a good mood, even when maybe they're having a bad day?
Yeah. And you know, it's funny because I was reflecting about this exact like thing right here at work on Tuesday, and I was just like, what would people think if they were looking at me right now, like how I was doing? And I look so serious a lot of the time because I'm just like intense focused. I'm very focused.
Yeah.
I find anytime someone looks at me and they're like, why are you so serious? Or like, I'm just really focused on like maybe listening to something or just doing what I'm doing. And I just looked into the nothing and just something like that. And just, I was like, man, if I just could do that for 8 hours, like people would think I'm weird, but they would be like, this guy's so happy. Like if you just look around
and just
if you just did your job with a huge smile on your face, people would like, they would know you as like the smile, like someone who just like constantly smiling, and they might think you're weird for like a day, and then day after day after day they'd be like, this guy,
I love this guy.
And that is crazy. It is crazy that is how important, it's how important your body expression is
and reflects your character.
And reflects your character. And it's unfortunate because I think internally I'm like, I'm not angry, I'm not mad, I'm not like frustrated or whatever, but I'm not portraying how I'm feeling in a great way that is making me more approachable, making me more received better, making people like put down less barriers. And this is all part of like just enjoying being in a community and communicating and building relationships. And with that, I think that's what we wanted to talk about today, was just how important and how impactful communication is, and really what we've learned from just knowing when to make a change, knowing when like an environment is serving you and when it isn't.
Yeah. Which leads us to our free speed for today. And I will say my free speed is maturity is knowing when you need to make a change in your life. And not only that, but acting upon it and not staying in the same environment just because it's comfortable.
And that is right next to insanity. Remember, like the best definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Yeah. So if you find yourself in a situation that's no longer serving you, make a change. That is maturity. That is where you're going to grow. And staying in the same situation where you feel stuck is not going to do you any good whatsoever. So make the change. That is free speed. Also, smile more.
That's literally my free speed.
Be a happy person. Even if you're not happy. Even if you inside are not happy, it doesn't hurt to smile, because that can make someone else's day better.
And have you guys ever seen the Turkish chef?
I love that guy.
The Turkish chef. The guy is making like he cooks for people, like parties of like 200. Like I don't know what he's doing every time, but he's cooking for like every single person in a small village.
And he smiles so hard that his eyes are
he's just cooking and smiling, and you can't help but like actually smile, thinking this guy that's his whole brand. And so that is my free speed, is the power of just a smile, and really just implement that right now. Implement that into your day-to-day life, and I honestly think if I do that, my life will change for the better.
Me too. I think we should start doing that to each other when we're like in a bad mood or arguing or mad. Just smile.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. So anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed today's episode 21, and we appreciate you guys being patient when getting these up, and hopefully we can get you guys some great clips that will be up on our TikTok soon. We'll be launching our TikTok soon. Yeah.
We've been saying that, and
I think the TikTok will be the next actual.
You know, it's just hard to stay super consistent when you're not 100% all in, and obviously we want to be 100% all in on this podcast and grow it, and that's what we want part of our careers to be. It's just hard when you also need to pay the bills and work as well. So we're trying our best, trying to balance work with our passion
and
learning and taking time for yourself, so you're not stressed and feeling bad. And sometimes you just need to take a little break, and that's kind of what we did this week. We just needed some time to reevaluate, and we respect you guys for staying patient. And I know it's been maybe like 2 weeks now since we posted our last podcast, but thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And there's some exciting things that could be developing too in the near future, because obviously like part of the production in just the camera and the microphones we have right now and the software, we could have some opportunities in the near future where we could be able to
provide a better experience for the listener. So yeah, thank you guys, and leave us a 5-star on Spotify if you're listening. That would really help us out in terms of being able to get future guests on the show and just provide more for you guys.
And really what it does, if you guys don't know this, like the more a podcast gets rated and stuff, when people are just listening to podcasts like I do at work, and then it flips over to a new podcast, sometimes it'll get highly rated podcasts. That's why. Yeah. I think nobody explains how that works.
You get more reach.
Because like when people are just listening to podcasts that are interested in things, like the Spotify has its own algorithm and it knows. Exactly. And so, yeah. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and have a great week. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week. Bye.